What's up, YouTube? Day 6. The big one, Best Picture. How many nominees we have for this one? I believe we have 9. I do like that the Academy a few years ago decided to extend the category, so it wasn't just 5 films. Because there was years that there was more than 5 Best Picture films. This year, I think they could have actually only did 5. Because this year, I hate to say it, but this year is just very lacking as far as Best Pictures. I think some of these movies are like average at best, and there's a couple that I watch for the reviews, and I'll never go back and revisit. There's a couple good ones in there, but I mean, I'm limited to like 3 films that I think I would go back and watch at another time. Anyway, let's get right into it because this one's gonna be a little long. First up is Phantom Thread. I've in the other videos, if you watch them, I've expressed that I like everything that goes on in the movie as far as the cinematography, the directing, the acting, but the actual storyline of this movie just killed me. To me, it was boring. You know, I couldn't get into it. I like the characters. I like Daniel Day-Lewis's character. I just like the whole like OCD, over analyzing things. Everything has to be structured, but just the whole gist of the film was very boring, and it just pushed it off. Based on its merits of what was put into it, I do think that it's a good movie in the sense of, like I said, directing and cinematography and acting. But as far as like a story that'll keep me, I watched it once, but I guarantee you, I will probably never see the Phantom Thread ever again. It just, to me, just wasn't a good movie. All in all, I'd probably give it like a 5.5 out of 10. It just, I understand that you could have these movies that are technically great with all different aspects, but there's got to be something there to hold my interest, and there just really wasn't with this one. Second movie is Darkest Hour, the Winston Churchill biopic. The acting in this is absolutely amazing. I've said that I believe that he deserves the nomination for Best Actor. Gary Oldman, name escaped me for like 2 seconds. The storyline itself is really good. Like, I mean, obviously they took liberties with it, like most biopics do, but it still was as opposed to Phantom Thread, it held your interest. You know, you want to see what's going on with it and everything, even though you know the end outcome. If you know anything about history, it's just good to see see the storyline of where he came from, basically, and how he was able to do this. And I do think it's a better picture than Phantom Thread. It's more in the middle of the pack when it comes to all these films. I mean, any of these films really have a shot because, let's face it, this voting is the way it's done. It's what the Academy likes, and I mean, their point of view is very fickle. Something just could be good that year to them. You know, they like those movies that resonate in Hollywood, but last year La La Land lost to Moonlight, which, I mean, I agree with. I think Moonlight was a better film, but, you know, they have these weird, like, things that they fall back on, and there's a lot of films in here that don't fit that criteria. That's why I don't think a lot of them are gonna do as well, you know. Anyway, that being said, like, I don't think Darkest Hour has a shot of winning. I still think it's a good movie. It's one that if it was on TV and I would stop, I would watch just more or less for Gary Oldman's acting. I mean, it just is that good. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Third film is Call Me by Your Name. It's good to see a foreign film be nominated for Best Picture. I think the last one that had that was Amour. I think that was nominated for Best Picture. So it's good to see that this one is up there. This one, I mean, I don't know how they are with foreign films. Like, I don't remember too many times foreign films being picked. I really can't recall at all. So I don't see that happening again. But this is in their wheelhouse of, you know, dealing with like a gay relationship and a man coming of age, and dealing with his romance and everything, and how he's going about life. The Academy doesn't like to go back to back with stuff. You can see like their voting changes. So I think with Moonlight winning last year, there's a big chance that Call Me by Your Name doesn't win this year. You add to that it's a foreign pick. It just, I don't think it all doesn't mesh well. That being said, the movie's a good movie. If it was on TV, I'd probably watch it just to, you know, kill a little bit of time. The acting's amazing in it. Even like Armie Hammer didn't get nominated, and I can't remember the actor who plays the dad. He was in a Boardwalk Empire, and he's excellent in it as well. So I'd watch it for that. All in all, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Fourth film is The Post. Now, The Post has three things the Academy loves: Steven Spielberg, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks. That being said, like, whereas Darkest Hour, to me, kept your interest and made you want to watch it, The Post, I mean, it's cool, but if you want to see all this stuff going on, watch All the President's Men. It's just a better movie that's more interesting. I know it's not the exact same storyline, but it's the exact same theme and feel of a movie. I mean, I've already expressed that. I don't think Meryl Streep should be nominated. Tom Hanks, I mean, he could have been. I think that race is very tight. So, I mean, I'm not knocking him not being there. But between the three of them, I mean, it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. I like it. But it's not like, if you had to tell me to watch a Spielberg film, The Post is well down the list. You know, maybe in the 20s of the one I'm picking. Tell me to pick a Tom Hanks film, it's probably in the 20s as well. You tell me to pick a Meryl Streep film, it's still rather low. So I mean, it's not something I'd actively go seek out, but I mean, it is a good movie. I'd still give it a 6 out of 10 probably. Fifth, we have Dunkirk. Now, Dunkirk, I really liked. I went into it expecting it to be more of a straight up war movie, having more action scenes, like outside the dogfight and the bombing. You really don't deal with too much actual warfare, which is interesting because it's such a war movie and it's such a big moment in the history of England and Germany fighting. I think it's an amazing movie, and a little caveat, I like that in Darkest Hour they actually talk about Dunkirk. It just kind of feels like they were like, both movies were trying to, I know they're same time period and same people, but it's just, I don't know, for some reason I like that when two movies have like a little connection there. It just, I don't know, something about me that something I like. Anyway, I mean, Christopher Nolan to me is one of the top directors going for like this generation and everything. I just think he's one of the guys who's on top of the game, and Dunkirk is no less a good movie. I don't think it's as good as I don't think it's up there with Memento or Inception and movies like that. But it is a great movie, and it's crazy like how like brutal it was. Like, I never learned about Dunkirk in school. I had no idea what it was. Like, when they announced the movie, I had no idea. And then reading, you find out how many people died there and everything. It's crazy. So, Dunkirk is a 7 out of 10. Great movie. Definitely would watch again. I'll probably pick up the Blu-ray on it eventually. Next we have Get Out, which to me was one of the better movies. But Get Out has one thing going against it that the Academy doesn't like. It, even though like it has only elements of it, everybody classifies it as a horror movie. And for whatever reason, when you say horror, the Academy turns their head away. The flip side of that is the movie has something really going for it, really like big, and that's that it deals with race relations and basically like everything that's going on right now, and that's huge, I think, because that's something like the Academy likes to always be on top of the game. They like to be like in the now. I mean, I feel like if there's a movie that had to deal with Hollywood actors sexually assaulting people, if that movie was made now, it would clean sweep at the Oscars, because that's what we're dealing with now. So I think Get Out is in that same vein where it's exactly what's going on in the world. And I mean, on top of that, just an amazing movie. It's really good. And it blends sci-fi, blends horror, blends drama, and it even throws some comedy in there in scenes, and it does it all very good. Get Out is not only a movie I would rewatch, it's a movie I want to buy on Blu-ray and just add to the collection, because it's beautifully done, phenomenal. I mean, Jordan Peele is amazing at it. And it's weird for somebody's first movie to be that good, and somebody who's known exclusively as a comedy guy, known exclusively as from Key and Peele to be able to do this and that good too. It's amazing. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. Next is Lady Bird. Lady Bird is like, to me, it feels like it's this year's coming of age movie, kind of like a yin to yang of Call Me by Your Name, because whereas that's more of a young man like dealing with finding out he's gay and everything, this is more just a girl dealing with growing up and having to go to college and having a family where her and her mother don't see eye to eye, and it just amazing acting all around. I mean, even the ones that didn't get nominations just did amazing jobs. And for up and down, Lady Bird is just Lady Bird's a movie that if it was on TV and I was flipping through, I would stop and I'd watch. I don't think I would buy it, just because it doesn't relate to me. Like I like it in that I watched it and I would watch it if it was on TV, but it's not something I would actively like throw on or show to my friends and say, "Hey, you need to watch this movie." I do think it's very well done, and I do think it's in I think in most years it's like a bottom rung picture. I think this year it's like middle of the pack because, like I said, I just think there's a lot of weak films this year. And it's not saying like that they're bad films. I just think what we usually get, there's a lot of films that could have been better. Next, Shape of Water, and the last two, I mean, kind of save this because the last two are really well done. Now, Shape of Water is done great in the sense of the technical aspects, the acting, the directing, and for me though the storyline I just don't like. I think there was just wanting too much more, and then there were some things that were given to you that just weren't needed for the storyline, like the whole introduction of I can't remember the woman's name now. I'm like, it's so late at night, I'm forgetting everything. Her husband, and he like sitting in the chair, like he was a character that was introduced in like the last 20 minutes of the movie, and he's in one scene, and it was like we don't need that. Like just streamline it, and you know there could be ways to get to the same point in the story without dealing with that. And that being said, though, like I said, it's just phenomenally shot, like beautifully shot, and I mean I would love for Guillermo del Toro to get a Best Picture movie, because I mean, like I'm a horror fan through and through, and Guillermo del Toro is just, I mean, he's just one of the juggernauts of horror. He just, I mean, he does everything good in horror. Chronos, Devil's Backbone, even Blade 2 was a fun movie, the Hellboy movies. I mean, he just is this guy who, he just respects horror and he loves it so much. And I mean, he basically lifted The Creature from the Black Lagoon and merged it with Beauty and the Beast and made it so that mainstream audiences loved it and were singing its praises. And I mean, that's just so awesome to me, because you know horror deserves, like, when I rate movies, I always rate horror movies like on a different scale, because to me, like, horror movies are the only movies that are made to elicit a certain reaction. Comedy movies are made to make you laugh, but horror movies, they do their job if they scare you, but they also do their job if they're like just well made, and you know they keep you interested. Like it's easier, I think, for them to keep you interested. Like I mean, you could put on a mindless action movie, but a horror movie, like if it keeps you interested, it's normally a good movie. And I mean that's it's a stupid thing to say if it keeps you interested in the movie because it's so obvious. But for horror, it's just weird like that. Like I don't know. So like, I mean, the Shape of Water isn't really a horror movie. There's brutal stuff in it. I mean, Michael Shannon's character is just such a piece of shit in this movie, and he does it so good, and he just brings that Michael Shannon, like, I don't know how to say it, like that moxie, I guess, that he's just this fucking bad guy, and he doesn't take anything, and he's just brutal, and doesn't care. Shape of Water, I mean, like I said, I don't like the storyline, but I think I would buy it just because it's Guillermo del Toro, just to put with the other ones of his that I have, and the fact that it's a horror movie that's finally getting its praises. Last movie is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and this is my pick. This is the one I think is going to win, because out of these all, this is the best movie. I'm sorry, Shape of Water I would give an 8 out of 10. But Three Billboards, everything is just so phenomenally done. The acting, the story, it keeps you interested, and it's not bloated. It doesn't have these scenes that just go on and on and on. Everything's straightforward. Everything's given to you. You know, you're watching the film, and you're not trying to figure something out if there's a special context there. Like, you know, like I it just keeps you going and like straight through, and it gives you everything you need to know, and it does it beautifully. And every acting job is just top notch. Like even characters that are in it for like one or two scenes are just top notch. And the fact that the storyline, the redemption arc, the one thing I will say about it is the ending. I think could have had a little bit better of an ending, just because it ends on a good note, but it ends on kind of like a crazy, like, really that's gonna happen now. But after, like, the movie's very straightforward, like the ending, you're kind of like, wow, that's kind of shocking that that's gonna happen. But I just think it's just such a phenomenally made movie, and it out of all these films, I think it has the best shot. I don't want to say it has the best shot because, I mean, the Academy, they could go crazy. I mean, they could give it to the Phantom Thread even though I hated it, but I just think that out of all these movies, it's the best movie. So that's my pick for winner. I know I'm jumping out of order, but Three Billboards is my pick for winner. My snub is The Disaster Artist. I get that all this stuff's going on with James Franco, but I mean, Ty Cobb killed a man, and he's the greatest hitter of all time in baseball. You have to separate what the person does from what they create, and that's the thing. Like James Franco, I mean, who knows if everything that's being said is true? Just the fact that this movie is just excellent. I mean, and it takes it's a movie about a terrible movie, and the guy who made it, and how he's the oddest guy on the planet, and it is nothing short of masterfully done. I mean, it's turned into pop culture. You know, all the references of oh, hi Mark. You know, I see it everywhere. I see it in wrestling chat rooms. I'm not chat rooms. I'll date myself. Wrestling like forums and stuff. You see it on like just everything, and I think it's a movie that could have been above some of these other movies, and it should have got its just due. I don't know if it was because of that stuff with James Franco, because I think the voting was in before all that broke anyway, but I think maybe people knew, and there was just that feeling there. So anyway, my dark horse, it's horrible I'm picking this movie as a dark horse, Get Out, because it needs to be shown that like it's such a lightning rod for what is going on in the world today. Like I mean, I know that like families aren't kidnapping people and sending them to the I was gonna say the down under, but the sunken room. But it just does it perfectly, where like just dealing with race relations, like it's just something that like when you talk about with somebody, like you talk about it, it's just so much easier to get along with it and get past it. And Get Out is a movie that you could talk about and then go right through race relations with a person, and you see that there's, you know, there's more to this world than what you are, you know, or what somebody else is. And everybody really can, just stupidly as it is, get along. And it just massively shows that. Like, I mean, it's just so well done, and the fact that it's a horror movie, I hope it has a shot of winning. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd still pick Three Billboards, because I think Three Billboards is a better made film. But Get Out, I would pick because it's a horror movie, and I mean, look at my shirt, look at my autographs. I mean, all my DVDs, I say 80% of them are horror. Like, I just love the horror genre, and it'd be nice to finally get some recognition in the horror genre in the Academy Awards. Like, I think it's the one thing we're lacking. I mean, you could say Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie, and it kind of is, but it's more thriller. And I mean, that's the last one that was like really given any credit, and it just needs a change. I mean, there's plenty of horror films that are top notch and very well made. And thankfully, this one came out this year, and I mean, from the start, you heard people saying it's going to get a nominated for Academy Award. And I kept hearing that it was just going to be the writing, but it's so great that it's the big one. So hopefully tomorrow some of these come true. And anyway, I'll catch you on the flip side.